When the rockets fly towards Kyiv, the air raid sirens sound. It's incredibly loud. It's so scary. And they call it Putin's lullaby. It's hard to convey just how deep the agony of Ukraine is. It's not a TV show. You can't channel hop if the Russian killing machine is out to get you. But I know what it's like. I've actually seen Ukrainian soldiers fighting the Russian army. I've been at the front line. I went to Bakhmut. Listen to this. Take note.
Since the war started, I've been on numerous occasions to Ukraine. My mother-in-law is from Ukraine, and I sat and I watched her getting very upset. So I just got angry and decided to do something about it.
The war in Ukraine affected me personally because I have a family in Ukraine. My wife is from Ukraine.
At the start of the big war in February 22, I went to the children's hospital in Kyiv, and they took me down into a basement where there was kind of rubbish and pipes. And I turned a corner and then there was a bunch of kids whose faces were yellow. And these children were on dialysis machines. The Russian army was 12 miles away. If they left their dialysis machines, they would die. If they stayed in Kyiv and if the Russians got to them, they would die. So the needs of the Ukrainian people right now are vast. They need a ton of things, but one of the things they absolutely do need are ambulances and medicines for hospital and the kind of stuff that we take for granted in the West.
Help for Ukraine is a UK-based humanitarian organisation. We deliver medical aid and equipment, we deliver ambulances to Ukraine. When we take an ambulance from the UK to deliver it to where it's needed, we call it a mission. So the process is actually not that difficult. It is raising some money, buying an ambulance, filling it up, and then making sure it actually gets to where it's needed, and that is actually quite important as well.
I do remember my very first mission to Ukraine. It was right after the war started, and our volunteer group obviously started to collect humanitarian aid, everything we can find. And so one of the members of this group had an absolutely brilliant idea to purchase a used ambulance and send it to Ukraine. And essentially this is how this mission started.
The Russians have targeted hospitals, and so there is a real need for ambulances. Ambulances for the front line to take soldiers back to the stabilization clinics, the MASH clinics I would call them, the field hospitals, but also ambulances for ordinary civilians. This need continues.
In order to make sure that all the aid and the equipment gets through, we have to do a number of things. So we have a full manifest before we leave. We know exactly what is in each vehicle. We know who it's going to. And when I say who, we know the name of the individual at the hospital, and there'll be a senior ranking individual at the hospital. We then know where it's going to. We hand over to a team we have based in Lviv. We then do another manifest check, and then it's delivered to the hospital, and the hospital then confirms back what has been received. All of this is done in formal processes with various documents signed off. So I can tell you that every single thing that goes in the back of the ambulance gets to the hospital where it was intended for. We hand over in Lviv, which is way over on the west, so we're nowhere near the front line. But I've still been in Lviv when it's been bombed. So it's quite a sobering experience, knowing that you're that far away from the front line and things can still happen. Fundamentally, the stuff that we do here, the stuff that the team based in the UK does, is the easy bit. The difficult stuff is the people that are based in Lviv, whose job it is then to do the last leg of the journey. they're the people that really deserve recognition.
On Saturday morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, I had a call from coordinator of this group, and they asked if I can drive. So, when would you like me to drive? Well, we're actually sending an ambulance today. Are you free? Yeah, I'm free. I personally took part in 8 missions so far. I probably helped to organize probably another half a dozen of them.
So a mission is very simple. We leave my house very early on a Saturday morning. We drive non-stop for 24 hours. We get to Lviv, or maybe we're held up at the border and it takes longer. Then we hand over to the team there. I have left my house at 5 o'clock on a Saturday morning and been back in the office on Monday. The other challenge is raising funds. Financially, people are more constrained. There's also an element of fatigue. We all get fed up of the same news all the time, so it's not as high profile. It's those two things. One is purely operational, and the other is really fundraising in the UK.
So we have different issues. Sometimes we have issues with cars break down, or we have some longer queues at the border, and sometimes we miss the connections.
If you help Ukraine in any little way, you can actually go there and help, or you can just sit in Britain and send some money, send some aid, send some medicine, send money for ambulances. Just that little bit, you'll know when it mattered, when Ukraine was really in trouble. You did something.
John and Mark are the heroes who actually drive the ambulances out and lead teams, and they're the kind of the guys on the front line. What am I? I am the person in the background, but I go around making speeches, and I help out at fundraising events, and I do what I can to keep everyone going.
When we started, fundraising was very much driven by Nick Munson. So that for us is how we drive most of our revenues. But we take sponsors, we take donors, we also work with corporates. So we have companies come to us and say they want to run their own mission. They want to deliver ambulances under their branding, their part of their corporate social responsibility. So we help them do that. I don't care whether an ambulance is delivered with my sticker on the side or a company sticker on the side. I don't care, as long as I can deliver an ambulance. On the website you can look at how to get involved, whether that's donating, whether that's buying your own mission, whether you want to be a driver, whether you want to get involved in other ways, whether you want to help with fundraising and support. The other thing on the website is all of the information about previous missions that we've done, and to see where the ambulance is and all the equipment has been sent.
I believe that we should defend Ukraine and we should help Ukraine. Some people are wary of giving Ukraine military help. Okay, we'll give them ambulances and give them stretchers and give them medicines, so at least they can look after their injured people. What's wrong with that?
I wish this war stops immediately.
When the war is over, the country is going to need rebuilding. Hospitals are going to need to be built. So we will continue to do this for as long as it's needed. So Help for Ukraine, delivering ambulances and medical aid to Ukraine is not my day job. But I'm really pleased that I work with the amazing team in the UK to do what we do.
Ukraine reminds me of Britain in 1939, of a country being bullied by a much more powerful neighbour, and at the same time, Britain then, Ukraine now, is fighting for truth and justice and what George Orwell called common human decency. I want Ukraine to win.